Hello everyone. Today I'm going to talk about AWS QLDB. And what is AWS QLDB, or Amazon Quantum Ledger Database? With the development of technology and the business, the organizations have more and more demands and requests. Amazon Quantum Ledger Database is a whole new category, a purpose-built database which was announced in 2018, and this service is still in preview. And I will talk about why I select this technology. Not like traditional database, the QLDB is created to cater for the specific purpose and demands of organizations and companies. What are these specific purpose? There are some companies searching for a transaction log of every single data plane change that was being made. They want to keep complete, accurate, and verifiable history of changes made to an application data. This is a new trend that makes the data unchangeable and unmodifiable, so I selected this technology. QLDB is a new purpose-built, immutable, cryptographic, verifiable transaction log and controlled by a central authority. With QLDB, organizations can trace the data, track the history, and be able to trust the lineage of the data, that it hasn't been changed. In other words, using cryptography, you can verify the data hasn't been modified or deleted. That makes things like operation much easier and building much easier. And the QLDB have lots of benefits. The first one is immutable. Immutable means when you write the transaction, the data in journal block, it will not be changed, modified, or deleted. It is an append-only database, and the history of the database can be verified or traced permanently. QLDB uses a cryptographic verified hash function, which called SHA-256, to make the data secure, and you can compare and contrast the value that you received in the hash and know that no one has the ability to change it. The third one is transparent, which means everyone can see the ledger once granted permissions to it. And QLDB has centralized authority, which means it does not need a decentralized consensus like blockchain. So it's highly scalable, and it will be 2 to 3 times faster. There is nothing from infrastructure you need to worry about. And the last one is it's easy to use. QLDB is easy to use because it has secure-like properties, and that makes it easy for users to operate. And then let's take a look at how it works. And this is a screenshot from the AWS website, and I will present a simple model to translate it, how it works. The ledger essentially has two main concepts: the journal and the current and history state, and the journal determines current and history state. The journal is append-only and has everything that ever took place in the database, and the complete history of every transaction block that occurred. These blocks are hash-chained together to provide cryptographic verifiability. Once something is written into the journal, it cannot be changed or deleted. We have ways to query the data in Ledger. From the current view, you can see what the last version of document is and the history, like a summary. I'm going to present an example of the Department of Motor Vehicles, or DMV, recording registration and ownership of cars. In the simplified example, I have a single table called the cars table, but there may be much more tables in use in the real system. And you can imagine I bought a new Tesla Model S in 2017 and took it to DMV to register it. When I complete this registration, the record is written to the QLDB ledger. This transaction will get appended to the QLDB journal as a block of data, which can never be deleted or updated. The journal then apply a cryptographic hash function to this block to ensure that the transaction can be verified at a later stage. and this function generates a hash which is appended to the block of data. On the journal, any change to that block of data, even a single bit, would change the context of hash and be detectable. And I will explain this later. This transaction then gets updated in the current cars table, which always keeps the current value of the data. Finally, the transaction gets indexed in the history cars table, which can be queried to see how the data has changed over time. And if I want to sell the car to another one, we read some orders, and the DMV needs to update to record it. Since Amazon QLDB's journal is append only, and this new transaction will get hashed chained to the previous transaction. Noting that in the journal, the previous transaction will remain intact and will not be overwritten. What's important here is that the hash from the previous transaction form part of the hash of the new transaction, which means this hash is added to this hash. And this means that even a small change in the first transaction will be easily detectable in the hash in the second. When the new change gets applied to the current cars table, it will overwrite the previous record since it maintains the current ownership record for the Tesla. However, when this record gets applied to history cars table, it now has a total of 2 records since it checks the Tesla's complete ownership. And when the car is already rigged, and it will be deleted from the database, and we write the delete orders. But as you see, the journal is remained, and the history is remained. And the SHA-256 is a cryptographic algorithm. When the journal is written, there will be a hash generated with highly complex numbers. And even a small change, like change the name of Jason Bourne to James Bond, it will generate a total different hash. And the hash is changed. This means that the first and second change hash will be added to the third hash, which makes it more reliable. And there are some use cases in finance and banking, retail supply chain. Banks often need a centralized ledger like an application to keep track of critical data such as credit and debit transactions across customer bank accounts instead of building a customer ledger, which has complex auditing functionality. Banks can use QLDB to easily store an accurate and complete record of all financial transactions. And the retailers often need to access information on every stage of a product's supply chain, such as what location did the product come from, how many items of the product were shipped, and to whom, who handled the shipment, etc. With QLDB, retail companies can look back and track the full history of inventory and supply chain transactions at every logic stage of their products. And these are the references. And thanks for watching.